BBI is in a big spot, guys. We did have a fundamental earnings coming out, which investors did not like. We've seen a 35% gap down within stock price, which was very, very impressively defended by the bulls, guys, surging up strong. First day of the gap down, 26%. When you see a very high interest short stock like this defend this earnings gap down so quickly, now we're teetering over that $6 level. We could see stock price get right back to a very core level that we did have before this earnings drop, guys. So nonetheless, this is a very important time for BBAI. We do have a lot of upside in store, so let's waste no time getting straight into this technical analysis breakdown. Going first to the weekly, so we can get a very broad image within stock price to then flip to the medium and the long, and sorry, in the short term to get a very full term gauge. So we're looking at the weekly. This is the last, about 30 weeks or so, 20 weeks. So we've seen stock price get very, very dull within this duration. We were covering it week after week after week. And we mentioned within these last 1-2 weeks, something is going to happen, guys. A big move is occurring soon. We're squeezing very, very tight. We did see it. The volume increased, breaking out of this, running up, which we called in this breakout 123%. Since then, we have entered another consolidation phase within these obvious lows and these obvious highs. So once again, we were building in a pretty bullish presence from a lot of perspectives within the weekly. But seeing earnings gap us down, right? You come into earnings at a certain price, stock price then drops 30% from its earnings. The company lets out some news and 30% like that. Not much you could do about that, but when you see a euphoric defense by the buyers surging us all the way up, actually reclaiming over the top within the bottom of this range of consolidation, that gives a setup, guys, where we can actually push coming next week, surging towards the top of this range. As you guys know, the ranges are like magnets. When you're at the bottom of this range, you're likely to come right back up to the top magnet being the resistance. And this is what we were expecting moving into earnings, but obviously the earnings didn't come out good. So as of now, creeping below that, we had a very quick surge down, retesting the top of this range. And as of now, we're technically above it. So we should be looking for that magnet to pull us up towards the top of this range. And we're in that presence, guys, where, 8-9 times out of 10, you get a big gap down like this. Stocks just fade away. They might go up a little bit, kind of bounce, not really do much, but BBI is a very intense community backing it. And this is a very, very good sign to see for BBI and a very impressive recovery, which honestly, I don't think a lot of technical analysts were expecting at all. So as of now, as long as we stay above the bottom of this weekly range, this consolidation, which we've been pressed at for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, guys. This isn't just 6 weeks of Apple consolidating a little time, a huge stock that doesn't move much, or Nvidia, or no, this is BBI, which was just euphorically breaking out 150%. Now being very, very tight in an obvious channel for 6 weeks. So entering right back in that, shooting back in that party, guys, we should be expecting a retest within the top of this range, somewhere within that $8 to $8.50 level. So can't believe I'm saying it, guys, but whatever recovery by BBI. So we do look good here, guys. Just keep an eye on that $6 level. Technically, we're not very much above it. So there is a possibility we do reject here and move lower. But nonetheless, guys, now we move to the medium-term analysis. And from this perspective, we get a great image of stock price looking very well as well. So from this image, we get a good perspective within this cup and handle. And we were monitoring this going into earnings. This very obvious downtrend into consolidation, into a sharp movement up trend, and now a tight channel getting ready for the next movement. If broken above, could see the upside. If earnings was great, man, we would have seen a very intense reaction, especially now seeing how quick buyers are to defend bad ones. So since then, we've seen a very strong wide body bar. All season traders know that when you see a big gap down 30%, 40%, 20%, you want to see that one day surge up super quickly with a strong wide body bar. And it's not, hey, we got a wide body bar. It's, hey, we've seen a very intense day where the buyers stepped up and they could not get enough of this stock, having a monster day from these lows, just scorching hot. What do we see after that? We press at that $6 level. Mentioning on the weekly, guys, is very, very core $6 level. We sit right at the $6 level, highlighted here. And we rejected that coming in a day, but we didn't pull back much. Note we only pulled back, a very small fractal. The next 2 days, we consolidated here very, very tight, holding these gains at the top of the $6 level. Now we're breaking over it with a bull flag, a strong movement up, now a tight channel. This will be better to see on the hourly. We'll get to that on the hourly, but as of now, we are set up to break over these highs and move up and test the top of this descending channel within this cup and handle. This could be one of those weird setup, guys, where we get, this very nice cup and handle. Everyone was watching moving into earnings, but we gap down. The party's late. Sorry, the party's done. It's not happening, but now we're squeezing right over the top of this. And guys, we could actually go and fill this gap and retest this. incredible movement. You really won't see this stuff too often. And yeah, I'm truly impressed here with BBI. So we'll watch that $6 level. Makes it really easy for us to see this big major level. The next area to watch on the daily is stocks do fill their gaps. Hence over here, BBI gapped up at this level, which we watched at that $6 level. We felt really, really good about this duration. Stock price gapped up, and eventually it actually came down to fill the gap. Notice how when we reject at 872, we pull back to this level. We came about like 10 cents off, so we didn't quite fill this gap right here, but we came almost to that level. It was enough for the buyers to shoot up strong, right back into $8. Now we have another strong dip. What does stock price do? Pulled right back to that gap. And we said within this duration, guys, we should see upside. A lot of things we won't get into, but we've seen the gap fill. Once again, over here, after that gap fill, boom, a 23% next few days. So as of right now, guys, we're working with a gap fill to the other reversion. We've gapped down dramatically with a lot of bullish presence, and it only makes sense to go and fill that gap at $6.70. That feels a very obvious spot. That 670 range around that rough 60 sorry, I can't talk, guys. 668, 669, 670, that rough range. Sometimes you get a little bit off, just a little bit off, you know, and the seller's like, okay, that's enough, right? And the buyers are like, okay, that's enough. So keep an eye on that, guys. We'll be going to fill that gap. As of now, just have a really good read on BBAI. Once again, very, you know, this one candle really does kind of set the tone for the coming days. What a phenomenal recovery. As of now, we look great in the daily. Once again, keep an eye on $6 and that 670 range for that gap fill. And then a little bit over that, we start to creep over that $7 level. We could be getting a delayed breakout within this cup and handle. Very interesting stuff. So as of now, we're going to go over to the hourly and analyze this, as this gives us a very short-term gauge. And we've seen that, guys. Once again, crazy gap down in stock price, 34%, 35%, whatever it is, right? And then just as soon as it opens, guys, 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour, 5 hour, 6 hours, 7 hours of straight up. Nothing else, just up. And we had a 30% recovery from these lows, right? So as of now, we had this very beautiful flag on the hourly, which I did take a trade on, breaking over, and now a strong breakout. And from this instance, from a short-term perspective, 8 out of 10 times here, guys, you will see the upside the next day come to fill that gap. But there's a world where maybe we do get a little bit delayed, maybe pull back to that, maybe even a little bit below $6, guys. You know, we pull back to that 590 range. It's kind of the last level you want to watch in bounce here, right? And then come up higher. But as of now on the hourly, we do look bullish from the next 1 day, 2 day, 3 day. And centering back to the daily, guys, we mentioned these $6 levels, but this is from a daily perspective. So technically, if we get a little bit under that and we end the day over, it's still a daily close, as each one of these candles are 1 day, right? But from a more short-term perspective, we start to teeter below these 590 levels. We're going too much lower than where we're supposed to go. Now we're back testing this flag, and we failed. So that's what we're looking like, guys. All in all, we'll be watching the daily and the weekly closes, man. But as of now, BBI seems very, very due for a gap fill, eventually testing the top within this descending channel within this overall cup and handle structure. And, you know, we noted one of these kind of weird, if we highlight this duration red, just so you get this real quick, guys, we noted a very similar setup within coin. It had a very similar setup, right? We had this cup and handle, we gapped down, we came up, and now we might come up and actually break out. Coin had a very similar look, guys, on the weekly, and we mentioned this to everyone, and we've seen huge upside after that occurred, right? This huge weekly cup and handle, this one dating a couple years, right? We have this very nice structure for breaking out, then coming back within this duration, coming from the bottom, bouncing, and then breaking out here, guys. We were screaming, you know, from the rooftops in this, you know, lower $250, $230 levels for coin, that we're getting one of those weird reactions. And sometimes you see these actually come into live effect, and they trick out a lot of sellers giving a short squeeze, and new buyers just really surge in. So all in all, guys, a little bit scattered. I hope I didn't lose any more beginner, you know, technical traders, but nonetheless, all these time frames are really centering back to that $5.96 range. That's got to be held by the buyers to see short-term momentum. But as of now, this gap fill does seem very, very obvious, and we potentially could and should get a retest within this descending trend line within this cup and handle. So that is the analysis, guys. If you guys found any value within the video today, consider dropping a sub and a like. We will continue to monitor BBI as this transpires live. It's a very active stock, so we might do 3 times a week, but 2 times per week is at least a minimum you guys can expect. All right, guys, have a good one, man. Take care, and peace.